Now, this is a juicy one. Should we send asexual people to space?
Asexual people. I don't see why we should not send asexual people.
So these are people who are,
Yeah, they don't
not so much.
crave, or they don't enjoy, or they don't need.
So this would be your preference.
I think it could resolve some of the concerns that are present. And it's not only the fear about having sex and maybe conceiving a child in space, which is definitely, especially ethically, complicated stuff. And it's also about the families that you leave at home if you are an astronaut and you go. Usually astronauts just don't appear from sky, you actually have a family and maybe wife or husband and maybe children, and they all they will miss you for the whole duration of several months or years. And if we talk about the Mars stuff, and there needs to be a strong support to keep these relationships as healthy as possible in these conditions. So the astrosexuality stuff is really important to consider and to talk and to research. I don't know if I'm like pioneering the field in a way that would most people think. Like I would do a lot of research already. Unfortunately, I did only a few small data collection here and then, but I actually started really thinking about it and trying to see what are the next steps and what are the aspects that we can actually study pretty well. And I think that a lot of the stuff can be resolved well by starting with some methods that we have now. And there is a method called assessment of sociosexuality, which is, for example, the willingness to engage in sexual relationships which are uncommitted. Uncommitted. Oh. So there are people that are very okay with uncommitted sexual relationships. And then on the other side of the spectrum, there are people that would not do that. They don't think it's a good idea, and they definitely would do something sexual only with people that they know they are in long-term relationship. Yeah. And then it can be a little bit similar to the personalities, extroverts, introverts, or something like that can be researched quite well. It has been researched since 1960s, maybe even before. And that was something that I implemented in the analog mission lately. And it seems like it can, again, yield pretty good data on the team composition. And it's definitely very important because I have checked some of these statistics from the Antarctic expeditions, which are of course more frequent than the analogs or the space flight. And the US Antarctic Foundation, they published a study where they said that really the majority of women, more than 90%, think that the sexual harassments are important topic, and every other woman have experienced or personally know a woman that experienced some kind of harassment within the context of Antarctic expeditions in the US.
That's terrible.
That's a lot. Like, yes, and it's okay. It exists. The issue, 90% thinks that it's really important to be. I should have checked the numbers again. I had it in my. In my interview.
And how much is that compared to like the average person in a population?
I don't know that. I did not check that.
It's probably also pretty high.
Could be pretty high. Yeah. And it's shocking that it's not researched super well, and it'd be nice to overcome this by maybe with the new generation of neuroscientists and a new generation of explorers, these topics would be more accessible. And it's also hard to start research on this because there are more pressing things. And of course, yes, there is the pressing need of studying the radiation or the pressing need of studying the neurological effects of space flight. Yes, that's true. But this is also important.
Fascinating. Okay. Yeah, because when you introduce these potentially sexual dynamics in a super confined space the small number of people, you risk these really strong bonds forming, and then you end up with favoritism and impartiality. These are things that would bring up conflict, I suppose.
Sociosexuality aspect, I especially see like the potential for conflicts in the opposite expectations. If you match, for example, if you don't encounter the sexual relationship with anybody, but you are actually in the presence of person that is behaving in some way, and you think something is okay and something is not, it's your core value. It's your core value that you think that people should be sexually active only with people that are committed relationships. If you see someone who is really like a playboyish and Don Juan vibe, be it boy or girl, you might feel repulsed by this person because they're doing something that's not right to you, and you might feel like it can just make it more negative to you. And the same on the other hand, so you are a very jovial person, you make jokes and it's funny and you flirt, and that person is like really giving you cold nose and everything, like prude, no fun, and then it starts to become unpleasant in some contexts, right? And then if something happens between these two oppositely charted people, the one that is uncommitted would expect that it was fun and goodbye, and the one that is committed would expect that, okay, let's now do couple stuff, and then that can really create an unpleasant atmosphere.
This happens on the surface of the earth as well.
Who would rather? People be people, right?
Even if they're in space.
And there has been some cases of astronauts actually having some love triangle stuff.
No way.
Yeah, right.
Documented?
It has been kind of documented. I don't want to go too much in depth of this, but we this aspect of relationship stuff doesn't spare even astronauts.
No.